I'm so glad you're here with us today. We're diving deep into A Course in Miracles. And if you're just joining our community, you might be wondering what this course is all about. I'd love to invite you to check out the very first video on this channel, where I break down exactly what A Course in Miracles is, how it came to exist, and why it's been transforming lives for over 5 decades. It'll give you the perfect foundation for everything we explore together here. Today, we're exploring something that has the potential to simplify your entire life in the most profound way imaginable. We're talking about the only answer. Not one answer among many, not a good answer or a helpful answer, but the only answer that exists to every single problem you've ever faced, are facing now, or will ever face in the future. Think about your life right now. How many problems do you believe you have? Maybe you have relationship problems, financial problems, health problems, career problems, family problems. Maybe you're dealing with anxiety, depression, loneliness, confusion, fear. Maybe you're struggling with past trauma, present circumstances, or future uncertainties. The ego wants you to believe that you have countless different problems, each requiring its own unique solution, each demanding its own specific strategy, each needing extensive time, energy, and effort to resolve. And so you spend your life problem-solving. You analyze, you strategize, you plan, you work, you struggle, you seek advice, you read books, you attend therapy, you try this method and that technique. And sometimes you solve one problem, only to find 3 more waiting behind it. It's exhausting, isn't it? This constant battle against an endless stream of problems that seem to multiply faster than you can solve them. But what if I told you that all of these problems, every single one of them, are actually the same problem? What if the relationship issue and the financial stress and the health concern and the career confusion are all just different disguises worn by one fundamental problem? And what if that one problem has one answer, and that answer works every single time, in every single situation, without exception? This is what A Course in Miracles teaches us in this profound section. There is only one problem, the belief in separation from love. And there is only one answer, the return to love. Everything else is just the ego creating complexity to keep you distracted, confused, and searching everywhere except where the real answer lies. The ego loves complexity. It thrives on it. It creates elaborate problems that require elaborate solutions. It keeps you busy analyzing, figuring out, working hard, struggling endlessly. Why? Because as long as you're caught in the complexity, as long as you believe each problem requires its own specific solution, you never discover the simple truth that would set you free instantly. The truth is this: love is the answer. Not as a nice platitude or a sweet sentiment, but as a literal, practical, powerful reality. Love is the answer to your anxiety because anxiety comes from fear, and love casts out all fear. Love is the answer to your relationship conflicts because conflict comes from perceiving separation, and love reveals the truth of oneness. Love is the answer to your financial stress, because that stress comes from believing in lack. And love reveals the infinite abundance that is your birthright. Love is the answer to absolutely everything, because every problem is ultimately a problem of being disconnected from love. Every form of suffering stems from the belief that you are separate from love, that you can lose love, that you need to earn love, that love is scarce, that love can be taken away. And when you return to love, when you choose love, when you align with love, every problem dissolves because you're addressing the actual source rather than fighting with symptoms. Today, we're going to explore this revolutionary simplicity together. We're going to understand why all problems are the same, why love is always the answer, and how to actually apply this truth in your daily life so that you can experience the freedom, the peace, and the joy that come from living in alignment with the only answer. Are you ready to stop seeking complicated solutions to imaginary problems? Are you ready to discover the beautiful simplicity that's been here all along? Are you ready to embrace the only answer that's ever truly worked? Then open your heart, quiet your analytical mind, and let's dive into this truth together. The only answer is calling you home. Let's begin. Let's start by completely dismantling the way you've been taught to think about problems. Because until you understand what your problems really are, you'll keep seeking solutions in all the wrong places, and you'll stay trapped in the endless cycle of suffering that the ego creates. Here's the truth that will set you free. You don't have multiple problems. You have one problem wearing many different masks. The ego is incredibly clever at creating the illusion of countless separate problems, each seeming to require its own unique solution. It presents you with financial problems, relationship problems, health problems, career problems, and convinces you that each one is distinct, each one is real, and each one needs intensive analysis and specific strategies to resolve. But A Course in Miracles reveals something absolutely radical. All problems are the same problem. Every single one, without exception. And that problem is the belief in separation from love. That's it. That's the only real problem you've ever had. Let me break this down because it's crucial. When you experience anxiety, what's really happening? You're believing you're separated from the peace that is your true nature. When you experience conflict in a relationship, what's really happening? You're believing you're separated from the other person, seeing them as different from you, as capable of taking something away from you or threatening you. When you experience financial stress, what's really happening? You're believing you're separated from the infinite abundance of the universe, believing in lack and scarcity. Every problem, when you trace it back to its source, comes down to one fundamental error: the belief that you are separate. Separate from God, separate from love, separate from your true nature, separate from others, separate from the abundance and peace that is your birthright. This is the separation that occurred in what the Course calls the tiny mad idea. The momentary thought that you could be separate from your source. And from that one belief in separation, the ego has created an entire world of problems. It's like a master magician performing endless variations of the same trick, keeping you so dazzled and distracted by all the different illusions that you never see the simple mechanism behind them all. The ego loves complexity. It absolutely thrives on it. Why? Because complexity keeps you searching, analyzing, working, struggling, and never actually finding the answer. As long as you believe you have 1,000 different problems, you'll spend your lifetime trying 1,000 different solutions, never realizing that you're solving the wrong problem entirely. Think about how much time and energy you've spent trying to fix specific problems in your life. You worked on your communication skills to fix your relationship. You created budgets and financial plans to fix your money problems. You tried meditation or medication to fix your anxiety. And maybe some of these things help temporarily. Maybe they managed the symptoms for a while. But did they bring you lasting peace? Did they address the fundamental issue? They couldn't, because they were addressing the symptoms rather than the cause. It's like taking pain medication for a broken bone. The pain medication might help you feel better temporarily, but it doesn't heal the break. You have to address the actual fracture if you want real healing. The actual fracture in your experience is the belief in separation. That's the break that needs healing. That's the source of every problem you perceive. And here's the beautiful news. Because there's only one real problem, there's only one real answer. You don't need 1,000 solutions for 1,000 problems. You need one solution for one problem. The problem is separation from love. And what do you think the answer is? We're going to explore that now. And when you truly understand it, everything in your life will shift, because you'll finally be addressing the real issue instead of endlessly battling with illusions. The simplicity is breathtaking, the freedom is immediate, and the peace is profound. Now that we understand that all problems stem from one source, the belief in separation from love, the answer becomes beautifully, elegantly simple. If separation from love is the problem, then love is the answer. Not one answer among many options, not a good suggestion to consider, but the only answer that exists, the only answer that works, the only answer that heals completely and permanently. Love is the only answer. Let that sink in for a moment. Not love as the ego defines it, not romantic feelings, not conditional affection, not something you have to earn or can lose. But love as A Course in Miracles defines it, your true nature, the essence of what you are, the eternal reality that cannot be changed or diminished, the presence of God flowing through you and as you. This love is not something you need to find or create. It's what you are. It's always been there, waiting patiently beneath all the layers of fear, judgment, and illusion that the ego has constructed. Every problem you experience is simply a cloud obscuring this sun. The sun doesn't disappear when clouds cover it. It's still there, still shining, still radiating warmth and light. You just can't see it temporarily. And here's what's so powerful. When you choose love, when you align with love, when you remember love, every problem dissolves. Not because you've solved it in the traditional sense, but because you've recognized it never was real in the first place. You've seen through the illusion. You've withdrawn your belief from the problem, and without your belief sustaining it, it simply disappears like a shadow when you turn on the light. Let me give you a concrete example. You're in conflict with someone. The ego sees this as a relationship problem requiring negotiation, boundary setting, communication strategies, maybe even separation or legal action. But what's the real problem? The belief that you and this person are separate, that your interests conflict, that one of you can win while the other loses, that attack and defense are necessary. What's the answer? Love. When you choose to see this person through the eyes of love, everything shifts. You recognize that you are not separate. You see that their attack is actually a call for love, a cry of pain from someone who has forgotten their true nature. You understand that what you give to them, you give to yourself, because there is no real separation. From this place of love, the conflict doesn't need to be solved. It's already dissolved. The problem was never real. It was a misperception, and love corrects all misperceptions. Or take anxiety about the future. The ego sees this as requiring extensive planning, control strategies, backup plans, insurance policies, guarantees. But what's the real problem? The belief that you are separate from the loving universe that created you. The belief that you're alone and unprotected. The belief that something can go wrong in a universe governed by perfect love. What's the answer? Love. When you remember that you are held eternally in love, that you are guided perfectly in every moment, that nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists, anxiety becomes impossible. Not because you've controlled all the variables, but because you've remembered the truth. You are love. You are in love. You are surrounded by love, and nothing can actually harm what you truly are. This is why love is the only answer. Because love addresses the actual problem, the belief in separation, rather than the countless symptoms the ego creates. Love doesn't fight with problems. Love dissolves them by shining light on their unreality. But here's where the ego gets tricky. The ego will offer you its version of solutions. It will say, yes, love is nice, but you also need to be practical. You also need to protect yourself. You also need to plan and control and defend. These ego solutions might seem to work temporarily, but they always come with a cost. your peace. Because every ego solution reinforces the belief in separation, in threat, in vulnerability. Love's answer, on the other hand, always brings peace. Always. If your solution doesn't bring you peace, it's not love's answer. It's the ego's counterfeit. Love's answer might not always look like what the ego thinks it should look like. It might not involve defending yourself or proving you're right or getting revenge or controlling outcomes. But it will always bring you peace, and that peace is the sign that you've chosen correctly. Here's the practice. In every situation, ask yourself, what would love do here? What would love say? How would love see this? And then trust that answer, even when the ego screams that it's not enough, that you need something more complicated, that you need to protect yourself. Love is always enough. Love is always the answer. Because love is what you are, and when you align with what you are, all problems disappear. So we understand that all problems are the same problem, and love is the only answer. But now comes the crucial question. How do you actually apply this in your daily life? How do you choose love when your boss is criticizing you unfairly? How do you choose love when your bank account is empty? How do you choose love when someone has betrayed you? Or when you're facing a serious health diagnosis? This is where the teaching becomes practical, where it moves from beautiful philosophy to lived experience. And I want to be very clear with you. Choosing love is not always easy, especially at first. Your ego has been running the show for a very long time, and it has deeply ingrained patterns of seeking its solutions first. But with practice, with commitment, with willingness, choosing love becomes more natural, more automatic, until eventually it becomes your default response to everything. The first step is recognition. You have to recognize when you're seeking the ego's answer versus love's answer. And here's the simple test. How do you feel? If you're feeling anxious, angry, defensive, fearful, or any form of disturbance, you're seeking the ego's answer. The ego's solutions always create emotional turmoil because they're based on the belief in separation, threat, and scarcity. Love's answer, on the other hand, always brings peace, even in challenging circumstances. So when you notice you're disturbed, pause. Just stop for a moment. Don't immediately react. Don't immediately try to fix or solve or defend. Just pause and acknowledge, I'm seeking the ego's answer right now. I'm believing in separation. I'm believing in threat. I'm believing love is not enough here. The second step is invitation. You invite love to show you a different way. You don't have to figure out what love would do. You don't have to manufacture loving feelings. You simply say, internally or out loud, love, show me how to see this differently. Holy Spirit, give me your perspective. I'm willing to see this through the eyes of love instead of the eyes of fear. This is not a passive act. This is one of the most powerful choices you can make. You're literally inviting a different teacher, a different guide, a different operating system to run your mind. And love always answers this invitation. Always. Maybe not immediately in the way you expect, but the shift will come. The third step is listening. After you've invited love's perspective, you have to be quiet enough to hear it. This might mean taking a few deep breaths, stepping away from the situation temporarily, or simply becoming still internally. And then you listen for the guidance. It might come as a thought, a feeling, an intuition, a sudden knowing. It might be a sense of peace that tells you what to do or say. It might be a recognition that nothing needs to be done right now. Love's answer is often much simpler than the ego's elaborate strategies. The ego wants complex solutions because complexity keeps you trapped in its system. Love offers simplicity because truth is simple. Love might say, forgive. Love might say, be still. Love might say, speak your truth gently. Love might say, let this go. Love might say, trust. The fourth step is action. Once you've received love's guidance, you act on it. And this is where courage comes in, because love's answer often contradicts everything the ego has told you about how to protect yourself and solve your problems. Love might ask you to be vulnerable when the ego says to defend. Love might ask you to give when the ego says to hoard. Love might ask you to forgive when the ego says to attack. But here's what I want you to understand. Every time you choose love's answer over the ego's solution, you prove to yourself that love works. You experience the peace that comes from alignment with truth. You see problems dissolve that the ego said were insurmountable. You experience miracles, shifts in perception that completely change your experience of reality. Let me give you a practical example. Your partner says something hurtful. The ego immediately offers its solution. Get defensive, explain why they're wrong, give them the silent treatment, hurt them back. You feel angry, justified in your anger, ready to attack. But you pause. You recognize you're seeking the ego's answer. You invite love. Show me how to see this differently. And maybe love shows you that your partner is hurting and lashing out from their own pain. Maybe love shows you that you've been closed off lately and they're trying to reach you in the only way they know how. Maybe love shows you that this is an opportunity to practice defenselessness, to not take the ego's bait, to respond with compassion instead of counterattack. You choose love's answer. You speak gently, you stay open, you see beyond the attack to the call for love. And what happens? The entire dynamic shifts. The conflict that could have escalated into a huge fight dissolves. Connection is restored. Peace returns. This is love in action. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You begin to recognize the ego's voice faster. You invite love more readily. You trust love's guidance more deeply. And gradually, your entire life transforms because you're operating from a completely different foundation. You're no longer trying to solve 1,000 different problems with 1,000 different strategies. You're applying the only answer to every situation, and that answer works every single time. This is the freedom A Course in Miracles offers you. This is the simplicity that changes everything. One problem, one answer. Love. We've reached the end of this transformative exploration of one of the most liberating truths in A Course in Miracles. And what a revelation it is. When you truly grasp this teaching, when you really let it sink into your consciousness, it has the power to simplify and transform your entire life in ways you never imagined possible. Let's bring it all together. We discovered that the problem is never what it seems. All problems are actually the same problem, the belief in separation from love. We learned that love is the only answer, not as a nice sentiment, but as the practical, powerful solution that dissolves all illusions. And we explored how to actually apply this truth in your daily life through recognition, invitation, listening, and action. This teaching offers you incredible freedom. You no longer have to search for countless different solutions to countless different problems. You no longer have to analyze endlessly, strategize exhaustively, or struggle ceaselessly. You simply have to remember the problem is separation from love, and the answer is always, always love. When you choose love, everything else falls into place. When you align with love, miracles happen naturally. Imagine how your life will transform as you practice this. Every relationship becomes an opportunity to choose love. Every challenge becomes an invitation to remember love. Every moment of disturbance becomes a signal that you've temporarily forgotten love and can now choose again. This is the simplicity, the beauty, the power of living with the only answer. If this message has resonated deeply with you today, if you feel something shifting in your understanding, if you're ready to start applying the only answer in your own life, I invite you to support this channel by clicking the like button. Your engagement helps this message reach more people who are searching for answers in all the wrong places and need to discover the one answer that actually works. Please subscribe to this channel so you can continue this profound journey through A Course in Miracles with us every single day. We're exploring these life-changing teachings together, creating a community of people who are committed to choosing love over fear, truth over illusion, peace over conflict. And if you know someone who's struggling right now, someone who feels overwhelmed by the complexity of their problems, someone who's exhausted from trying to figure everything out, please share this video with them. This message could be exactly what they need to hear. The reminder that there is only one problem and only one answer might be the key that unlocks their peace. I would absolutely love to hear from you in the comments. Has this teaching shifted something in your perception? Can you see how the problems in your life might all be rooted in the belief in separation? Have you experienced the power of choosing love as your answer? What challenges do you face in applying this principle? Your insights, questions, and experiences create such richness in our community and help us all grow together. Thank you from my heart to yours for being here today with such openness and willingness to see differently. Thank you for having the courage to consider that maybe, just maybe, the answer you've been searching for everywhere else has been inside you all along. Thank you for being part of this beautiful community that's choosing to awaken to love. Remember this always. You are not separate from love. You are love. You have never been anything but love, and you will never be anything but love. Every problem you experience is simply a temporary forgetting of this truth. And in any moment, you can remember. In any moment, you can choose love. In any moment, you can apply the only answer. Choose love today. Choose love tomorrow. Choose love in every situation, with every person, in every moment. And watch as your world transforms from a place of endless problems into a reflection of the peace, joy, and love that you truly are. I'll see you very soon for our next journey into A Course in Miracles. Until then, may you rest in the certainty that love is always the answer, because love is what you are. Peace be with you, now and always.